And that gets me to a couple people I want to talk about. And when the Trump happened in 2016, even in the lead up to Trump, there were people who had kind of situated themselves in the public sphere, in commentary, what have you, as being, fed up with the left, right? And the left is always big, shadowy capital letters, right? The left. They're too woke. They're too PC. Cancel culture, right? The left is out of control. Look at this purple-haired kid on a college campus talking about racism. Look at, whatever other thing. You have all these characters in the IDW, the intellectual dark web. Whether it's the Weinstein brothers or, Sam Harris. Sam Harris is funny. Like, only now does he want to distance himself from the intellectual dark web. But the most embarrassing member of the intellectual dark web is Dave Rubin. Dave Rubin, he immediately just, kind of made me double take, because it was kind of clear to me that he was a shyster. He didn't know what he was talking about, but also that, to call yourself a classical liberal, right? I'm a classical liberal. Which is what Dave Rubin does. What is a classical liberal? What even is that? And really, a classical liberal is, and this goes into the dictionary definition of liberalism, which is just kind of like the foundations of, democratic representation, freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of assembly, like a lot of what's in the Constitution, and the First Amendment especially, is classical liberalism. But so Dave Rubin, he's just always been a shyster. He's always been, and it was funny because he claimed to be, I'm a liberal, I'm a lefty, and the left's out of control. And there were people who pointed out what this guy was up to. Rest in power, Michael Brooks, of course, the Majority Report, but others like Anna Kasparian, people who knew him on the Young Turks. He's now at the Blaze. He's now at the Blaze, which is Glenn Beck's outlet. He's an open conservative now, and it took him this whole 4 years to finally admit it. And only now is he claiming, well, I'm not gonna, I was a lefty. I mean, he's really acting like this wasn't his pivot the whole time, even though there were tons of people who called it out and saw it. And this isn't about policing the left. This isn't about claiming that, you're not a real true lefty or true liberal or whatever it is. People love to say, especially Twitter, the Twitter left, you're never left enough. You're just a lib, all of that stuff. This isn't that. This is about bad faith, people lying, misrepresenting their actual positions or their political alignment, and then taking people for a ride, for the money, for the grift. Here's a clip of Dave Rubin. Let's just hear what he has to say. What does Dave Rubin have to say? Most of my audience is the disaffected lefty.
Is the disaffected lefty. It's the irony is, people will say, oh, Dave, your audience is so right now or so conservative or something like that, which I don't mind. But most of my audience is the disaffected lefty. It's the lefty who just said something went wrong here.
It's the lefty that, and I hate to use the word lefty, it's the lefty that actually I can live next door to and have a great time because we agree on the principles of the Bill of Rights.
Well, all you're asking.
Well, that's what I've said from B1.
So while he's talking, they're putting up some of his videos. One of them looks like more dislikes than likes. Jeez. Disaffected lefties, huh?
Because we agree on...
It's like Sidney Powell, she's either self-immolating in front of us or she's about to break the greatest story in the history of modern times. It's one or...
Sidney Powell, the greatest story in the history of modern times.
Or the other, right?
Yeah. I suspect it's the first. And I think the same with Rudy Giuliani. You just can't give press conferences talking about dead Venezuelan
comment, Rubin. This dude is turning your likes into dislikes fast. That's
leaders and think that the citizenry should, I mean, it's not just that you shouldn't treat the citizenry stupidly.
Even good folks like Murray are susceptible to the psyop.
I do know that at about midnight Pacific time here, that about 8 states that Trump had healthy leads in all stopped voting at the same exact time.
But first of all, may I say, the thing of going to bed and the result being different when you wake up is not unheard of in elections. I mean,
and that's the other thing. Like even Rubin has said, well, all of a sudden in the nighttime, there's more votes coming in. What's the deal with that? The battle of ideas will never be. So this is Dave Rubin clips. This is a lot of fun. This website or this Twitter page. Sorry. Oh, this is what I was looking for.
You know what? Here we go. I'm going to make a bold statement.
I'm going to hold you to it, Dave.
I'm going to make a bold statement today.
Let's hear it.
Bold statement. Here we go. If Joe Biden is sworn in on January 20th, 2021, and he completes a 4-year term, actually completes a 4-year term,
okay,
I will retire.
Oh, wow.
I will retire at the end of that term. That will be it. I will disappear in just over 4 years.
Hallelujah. He's going to disappear.
That'll be it. That's how convinced. I will just disappear from public life altogether. I will delete all of my accounts, and then you'll never hear from me again. That's how convinced I am.
Yes,
that
please.
It ain't going to happen. He will not be president for 4 years. He either won't be president at all because of the election fraud and all that kind of stuff, which, by the way, is gaining momentum. We're not even really covering it that much.
It's gaining momentum.
It is actually.
Wow. So now, talked about Dave Rubin. Get that out of the way. Like I said, Dave Rubin, and I'm not the first to point this out. Dave Rubin is just too dumb to really do the right-wing grift, in the best way possible. I guess there are a lot of people who he had the wool over their eyes for a good amount of time. But I don't think he has the cognitive capacity to keep it up. You know what I mean? To really play between the lines, right? Some people can play between the lines. Not everybody. But what happens if you take the dumbness of Dave Rubin and take it from 10 and just click it to 9? Well, that's when you get Tim Pool. Now, Tim Pool is a guy who deigns to call himself a journalist. Oh, he deigns. Indeed, he does. And Tim Pool is really just a reactionary. He's somebody who doesn't read. He's somebody who doesn't really follow the news. Most news that he does share on his streams or his reads is really just garbage, pulp media, and with a conservative slant. And he's another guy who claims, well, I was a liberal, I was of the left, and they just got too crazy because, you're talking about racism, and that's a problem, right? Can't talk about racism. Tim Pool was really hitting hard the whole second Civil War thing during the Black Lives Matter resurgence this year. Black people asked to not be killed by the police, and massive amounts of Americans, including white Americans, Latino Americans, Asian Americans, Native Americans, everybody, basically a solid cross-section, especially of young people, came out to show their support. Yes, please, less state violence against black people, and really all people. That's what defund the police is. Can we have the police be a little less shooty and bullety all the time, please? Can we do something about that? But, well, all that's left is civil war. That's in Tim Pool's mind. We got to have a civil war. And, totally reactionary, over the top. But now Trump has lost. Oh, and by the way, Tim Pool makes just boatloads of money from his conservative audience, who, yes, are conservative. And again, he calls himself a liberal or whatever, but he's an anti-identity politics liberal, right? Don't really know any liberal politics he holds, but maybe you could say some are libertarian. Like, I don't know, maybe he's for the legalization of weed. But let's hear what he has to say. Now that Trump has lost, now that Joe Biden won the election, and there's been a national repudiation of Trump, and Tim Pool has made all this money off of being totally reactionary against anything, any criticism of Trump, overreacting about the squad, about AOC, having the most bad faith, simple-minded, dumb arguments about it all. What is Tim Pool going to do? Well, he's rebranding everybody. That's what you got to do. Every 4 years, just so happens there's an election right now. You got to rebrand. That's just what they do in the business. Is what they do. You know what I'm saying? And so change is coming. This is Tim Pool Clips, another fun. It's so you don't have to follow them. You get to see what they're up to, but you don't have to watch the whole thing. I've watched a few full Tim Pool videos, and they hurt me inside. But so change is coming. Today, Tim Pool announced that he will be following the Andrew Breitbart doctrine, which holds that politics is downstream from culture. Maybe the smartest thing Breitbart ever said. As a result, Pool will be adjusting his content to attract a younger audience and instill conservative values. Instill conservative values. And, this guy says, he says he's a leftist, but no, he's not really. So listen to
Have
this.
that offensive comedy be something. It's like, listen, they want to cancel you. They want to fire you. They want to destroy your jobs. We're chilling. We got 1 million+ subs. We got a big old vlog channel. We got sponsors. Wow. We got drinks. We got all that fun stuff. You can come hang out, skate, and laugh, and you're not going to get canceled. Dude. That's what we need to put together.
Radical.
We need to tell the younger generation, you can have fun. You don't got to be a dainty little snowflake. You don't got to be constantly offended to fit in. You can actually be offensive and fit in, because we make fun of each other all the time, and it's funny. I don't know if you were watching the IRL podcast last night. We had Heshi Tischler, and he was constantly making fun of Ian, and it was funny. And then he turned around and said, no, I love you. And
I just want to point out that, it's not like people on the left don't rag on each other and poke fun. He's claiming that there's this, you can't be offensive. There's tons of offensive people on the left, offensive comedy. Go look at David Cross, who's been a well-known leftist, comedian. Go look at his stand-up. It's offensive, people. It's offensive. And, keep in mind, Tim Pool was the guy who, when there was a national movement during Black Lives Matter to take down Confederate monuments, which were built well after the Civil War, kind of as a show of force by pro-Confederacy, pro-segregation people in the South and elsewhere. Keep in mind, he was the guy saying that tearing down these statues is tearing down our history. That's the history he identifies with, is of Confederates. So, we're not going to be offensive, right? We're not afraid to be offensive. We're not afraid to make fun of each other. What are people on the left really criticizing people being offensive about? And, criticizing, who are they criticizing and what are they being offensive about? That's what you need to keep in mind. But let's hear the rest of this.
And so that's kind of the thing. We want to be able to, play the circle game without being accused of being Nazis or whatever. We want to just have a good time.
The circle
we
game.
Want to get, off-road vehicles and do backflips and just be like...
Backflips, I need a bending electric guitar.
We know what's up in this world. We know what freedom means. We know what ignoring this means. So
we know what freedom means. It means doing a backflip on your ATV, bro. But also we know what ignoring this means. So now that he has, now that Tim Pool has, squeezed all the blood out of the stone of the Trump years and all the money, he literally has a mansion he's sitting in that has a skate park in it for all his wheelies and everything he likes to do. Now he's just I just want to make skateboard videos for the kids and tell them it's so cool to be offensive, right? And he talked about the circle game. That's the totally, mature game where you hold up your hand in a circle and punch your friends. That's what friends do. They beat on each other. And, but, there is the whole thing of the circle thing being used as a white nationalist, white power symbol. And here's just this is Tim Pool hanging out with a bunch of white nationalists. That's him there in the, whoa, there he is. Whoa, he's really trying to hide. He doesn't want to do the circle with all of these neo-Nazi types. That's kind of weird. It's kind of weird he didn't want to do that. Huh. I thought it's just not offensive, bro. I don't want to be called a Nazi for hanging out with Nazis and playing the circle game. I don't see any of them punching each other, but I guess, is that the circle game? Hanging out with neo-Nazis and throwing up the circle? Whatever. So that's, it's incredible the reach that people like Tim Pool and Dave Rubin have. A good amount of it's organic, but some of it is just straight up AstroTurf. It's money from people like the Koch brothers or Turning Points USA, all of these nonprofits. It's insane the glut of money there is on the right for talentless people just to be reactionary and just talk out of their asses. Don't know at all what they're talking about. Tim Pool was saying how AOC would lose her primary in a landslide. He was later saying, well, in Brooklyn, in her Brooklyn district after she won her primary, that she could lose to the Republican. I mean, absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. So Valor commented, in 4 years, I'll have made enough money to retire. I don't know. That's referring to Dave Rubin. So it's funny. Dave Rubin is planning his duck from politics in 4 years. Tim Pool's just cutting to the chase. He got what he needed out of the Trump years. He's moving on to skateboard backflips, woo, all of that stuff. So that's what's going on there, I guess. But it's just interesting. We have all of these grifters, just like weird internet personalities. A lot of people from the internet have been in politics a long time or just turned political. I just started my channel in March of this year during the lockdown after consuming all of this stuff and seeing so much of it for so long. And, sometimes I get in my head, like, what does it matter? What does anybody care what I think? Right? Who am I? I'm nobody. Right? I have print journalism experience, years of it. I was at a local newspaper for years and years, reported on politics, reported on social issues, reported on the arts, all kinds of stuff, and loved it. I love my job. But you get in this thing where nobody cares what you think. Nobody cares. Like a lot of creatives deal with a inner monologue of, no, it's not good enough, or just stop putting yourself out there. It can hold you back, right? But then you see someone like Dave Rubin, or you see somebody like Tim Pool, who have the confidence with none of the talent, with literally, literally will just rant into a camera, which is what I'm doing. Nothing special about it, everybody. That you can get these things at the store. I'm literally just figuring out all this live streaming stuff as I go. But it really is impressive, the complete not arrogance. I guess there is arrogance, but the level of audacity in being so uninformed and so pathetically brash about it, just being aggressively uninformed. It's definitely a sign of the times, I would say.